Welcome everyone, you are listening to and perhaps watching Hot Sauce Sports. I'm your host, Pease Delariz. I am joined by the Met adorning Terry Tam.
The Mets supporting Pete Alonso, reigning home run derby MVP, league minimum making.
He made more money in the home run derby than he has in his career so far.
Not allowed into the bar after hours. Pete Alonso, my boy, and also big congrats to my compadre, my paisan, Giannis Antetokounmpo on becoming the first Greek NBA champion, and congrats to the Bucks on finally getting a championship.
Well, Terry, congratulations to your lineage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We look very similar.
Like
it's weird. Like if you look at us, you're like, yeah, those guys are from the same place.
We'll talk about the NBA for sure because it's an NBA centric show. Obviously, we have a new NBA champion, and I love basketball. You know what I said this morning? The first thoughts I had. I woke up. I was super groggy. I'm watching my brother's dog. He woke me up at 5:30. Yeah, Snoop woke me up. He woke me up at 5:30 in the morning to go for a walk, and I'm groggy as all hell. And literally, the first thought in my head was, "I miss basketball." It's not even been 24 hours. I was like, "I miss like I don't have a game to look forward to."
The good thing is that it starts really quickly. It's going to start back in October.
And there's the Olympics.
Oh, there's also the Olympics.
Where Drew Holiday and Devin Booker will be on, or I think they already were on a plane together, flying to Tokyo.
Awkward.
Yeah. But we'll get to that in a second. I mentioned Duker Graphite. He's on vacation. So at a time where he's traveling to a part of the world where there was a fire tornado, Jeff Bezos took a penis-shaped rocket into space. And the obvious place to start the conversation, I want to get both your opinions. I'll start with you, Terry. What looks more like a penis, Jeff Bezos' rocket or Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos, hands down. There isn't anything in the world. He looks more like a penis than a penis looks like a penis.
But does he then? Because don't forget, we started the day by seeing Jeff Bezos. He looks like a penis, and then we saw Adam Silver at the NBA game.
Oh, he looks like a penis.
We live in a world of penis. It's a very phallic world.
Dana White,
penis. Yeah, he's like
all
the shorter, thicker one, right? Like
all different sizes of penises. Gary Bettman, even though he has hair, penis. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He looks like the penis like in those like in a movie where the guy gets naked and you're like like that's what the type of penis that Gary Bettman looks like. Yeah. Pretty simple.
Yeah, very Eagle puts up the Austin Powers graphic that indicates. Do you have the video, Eagle?
I do. I'm gonna go get it in just a second.
Well, yeah, I'll cue it up for you. But essentially,
what's with the cowboy hat? I never understood that.
Well, like. I saw this. I was like, "This is the midlife crisis of midlife crisis." This is like how billionaires have a midlife crisis, right? Like
they wear cowboy hats.
Well, and so here's the thing, and like, look, I'm gonna come off badly here. I'm not pro taxation. I do think Jeff Bezos should have spent some money on taxation last year, where everyone else lost their jobs, and he doubled his wealth in the first 6 months of the year. I think he should have spent something on taxes.
Capitalism, baby.
No, but here's the thing: is like these rules were written before the world we lived in exists, right? And so like you realize that the reason he went to space, and he barely did. Like I saw something. I haven't fact checked it. Greg Norman once took up like a small plane up as high as he possibly could, like was like beyond the barriers of safety, and like essentially like got to like the tip of space before coming back down. So Greg Norman, I think, was higher in altitude than Jeff Bezos was yesterday. Planes literally have gone higher than that rocket ship went. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is just like somehow this is tied into one of his companies that's going to declare a loss and then he won't pay taxes. So
exactly.
Like, so you talk about capitalism, but it's to spread out like your taxation, to spread out your wealth in a way so that you don't have to pay for anything. I don't know if that's actually even capitalism at that point.
He's a genius.
Oh, he has amazing accountants. Like they went
you can pay amazing accountants, amazing lawyers, amazing accountants, amazing
taxes, or you can fly to space. What do you choose?
Both.
But like, am I crazy? Like, was I the only one?
I'll fly, but I'll still pay the taxes.
But he did it. Like, he paid less than you and I last year. Eagle, am I wrong? Am I the only one who thinks this? Like, was I like, because you're like into like science and stuff, and
Nerd.
Was I the? Yeah, I was gonna say you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Was I the only one disappointed by the Bezos trip to space?
You know what it is? I don't know if this was overhyped from his side of it in terms of what they were actually looking to accomplish. Like, was this it? This has got to be like the test flight for the next flight, right?
I thought it was be gone for like the summer. Like he'll be back August 9th. You know, like he's gonna take a trip around, like go check out his satellites, come back home. That's what I thought it was gonna be.
But he
Yeah,
didn't even
so-
orbit.
No, he didn't.
So is it even a successful trip?
Well, based on the size of the cowboy hat, one would assume yes.
Yes, exactly. You never wear a cowboy hat that big unless it's a very successful. Unless it's a very successful failed attempt at entering space.
Yeah, exactly. Or think of it this way: if the Saints lose that game to the Cowboys, Stephen A. Smith doesn't wear a cowboy hat into the bar.
That's a very good point.
So
Yeah,
it
think about it
has
that
to be
way.
on a borderline success. That's a good point. Cowboy
Yeah,
movies, they never lose, right? They always win by the end of the movie, right?
Well, there's always somebody that gets shot in like a duel. You know.
Yeah. But it's never
There's always the guy that gets like a ricochet shot and he's like, and he just dies on the spot. Have you ever noticed how quickly people die in westerns?
and
like,
how
usually
small
bleed
bullet
out.
holes are, and
Yeah.
how little blood there is compared to
Yeah.
like a real gunshot wound.
And they're just out. Like it's like a kung fu movie. One kick to the face and they're dead. You know, like
Yeah.
it's. I watch a lot of
Greater space
MMA and
ambitions
it's not
than
really
going
real.
to the edge of it. Did this moment motivate you to push deeper into the cosmos?
Hell yes.
The resemblance is actually uncanny.
Yeah, he's just missing the
crazy.
cowboy hat. They're both wearing jumpers. By the way, the wristwatch on the jumper, classy.
Oh my god, that's unbelievable.
Yo, how do you know Jeff Bezos is divorced? His wife clearly didn't dress him that day. Because
Well, I mean,
wearing
listen,
the hat,
he can't wear it under because he's got to look at the time, right? T minus 6 minutes, you know, all that
because
shit.
he's the one doing that, right?
Yeah. Well, he has to know. You don't become a billionaire if you don't know everything about your situation, Peas. That's why
Yeah,
you're not a
I'm sure.
billionaire. That's why you're not a billionaire. But you can.
That's the only reason I'm not a billionaire.
But you can become a billionaire if you use hot sauce. If you use Hot Streak Fantasy and you use hot sauce promo code MLB. Obviously, basketball is done, but they just started the MLB, and it's been abysmal for me. I will say this: I've lost every bet, but it's fun. I just placed another one. We'll see if I hit. I'm gonna win my first bet. I promise. I will win my first bet, and I will be making billions like Jeff Bezos. And I will not spend my money to go to space. I will spend my money. Oh, bet just came in. Look at that, and it's a loss. Look at that.
I have
Oh,
to say, like,
boy.
I made like $40 on game 5.
Okay.
And then game 6, I lost like 60. I was making so many bets, and the Suns didn't make any 3-pointers. And we'll get to that. We'll actually get to that right now because it is time for the news. Terry, it's the news.
Is it?
It is. It is.
When does your brother come back?
I don't know. He just left me with his dog and fucked off.
You know what's funny? What's funny is Alex creates a whole folder for him. He's like, okay, put everything in this folder. He calls it pornographics. So Duke ignores him completely and just makes another folder called vacation graphics, and he puts everything in there.
Yeah. He even because he knows how terrible I am with this, he created one called Peas, and he sent me the
Yes.
instruction: throw out the graphics when you're done with them, so that you don't reuse the same graphics by mistake. So yeah, he's the best.
You are the dumbest smart person ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife actually makes this observation often, is that I know a lot about so many things and then so little about so many things that matter.
Yeah.
Like, all the things that actually matter, I have
same
no
way.
idea.
Also, I space out. Like I'll focus in on like weird shit. Like I'll watch like a 30-minute jiu-jitsu match, which most people would fall asleep to.
Mm-hmm.
But today, driving to get my second shot, I forgot to turn twice. You know what I mean? And like it's a mess. I can't even zone out when I'm driving.
Yeah, I feel you. So Giannis had a game that no one in NBA history has had. in the finals. He scored 50 points, had 5 blocks. I think it was 13 rebounds. Basically, since we started tracking blocks, nobody's had that game. It's, statistically the greatest finals performance. This from a guy getting heat earlier in the playoffs saying that Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA. This is a guy getting heat for saying Chris Middleton is their closer. He closed out that fucking series. I'll say that much. Like, I was the first half, especially where Chris Paul kept making those mid-range jumpers, and then Antetokounmpo came down the court and just smashed it into their faces. And like, I heard this take by the Athletics' Zach Harper, and he said that Giannis's injury, that we all thought when he got hurt, we all thought, okay, well, Giannis is done for 18 months, right? Like, he clearly snapped his leg in 8 places, but yet was back almost immediately and had basically two 40-point games and a 50-point game in the finals. And he was saying that the injury actually led him to perform better because they designed a game plan where he basically played as a big and wasn't handling the ball, and instead of getting him the ball 20 feet away from the hoop, they're getting it to him like 4 feet away from the hoop. Yeah. And then just letting him use his ridiculous body to just bully guys. And he likened it to Shaq playing for the Lakers and the impact that had. And I never thought of Giannis as sort of a modern age Shaq, but he was that last night in terms of, the impact on defense, to be able to just cave in the defense on the other end,
He's super impressive, and you got to be happy for the guy. He seems like one of the most genuine humans in the league, and this season has been the best NBA playoffs in a long time. The reason why is because it was 2 teams you would never think would make the finals. You know what I mean? And the Suns, I wouldn't think that, not never. Okay, Milwaukee, there was a guess. Educated guess, you can say Milwaukee's going to make the finals.
Well, they were the best team last year. They've been close 3 straight years, right? So.
But the reason why I'm saying is that you wouldn't think they were going to get in is because everybody was heavy on the Nets because they stacked up, and everybody was heavy on the Sixers because you assume Ben Simmons and Embiid were going to do something magical.
If Kevin Durant doesn't step on the 3-point line,
different game.
The Nets win the championship because the Nets, they don't go to overtime. He hits the 3-pointer to win the series, and then I don't think you're stopping the Nets as they're getting healthier, right?
Well, if Kevin Durant had a Twitter account, would it be his? We don't know. We'll never know.
Good point. But it's just like we're not even talking about an injury. Like, we're talking about like literally Kevin Durant, when he plays, he wears a half shoe size bigger. If he wears his normal like street shoes, they win the game. It's just the margin of error in that game was literally the smallest. I would say, so like from a narrative perspective, Terry, I agree in that like, I've been high on the Suns since they got Chris Paul because I just liked that collection of young talent, and they're fun. They're just a fun team to watch.
Even then, though, Kawhi got hurt, and that basically ruined the Clippers' chances at all.
But that's the point I'm going to make, though, is that from a narrative perspective, it was fun to see these 2 teams. But from if you love basketball, it wasn't great. You've had some great moments, but there wasn't a lot of great basketball. There was a lot of turnovers. Yeah. Chris Paul and Devin Booker ended games where they basically, and Booker took some stupid fouls at the end of games. Booker and Chris Paul turned the ball over. Guys were missing. We've never had this many All-Stars missing in the playoffs due to injury. So it's a lot. Like it was a lot, and still I found it still compelling because of the story, because of the narrative. To your point,
Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday brought them there, with the way they played. And Chris Middleton played lights out, man, especially in the Eastern Conference Championship. Chris Middleton was a great player. And then Giannis just ended it for them. Like, he just closed it out. The fact that they were down 2 going back to Milwaukee and they went 4 games in a row, including 1 in Phoenix, it's a story. It's a crazy story for such a good guy. But at the end of the day, are we going to remember the half-inch Kevin Durant on the line? No. Not at all. What we're going to remember is we're going to remember Giannis putting 50 to clinch a championship and give Milwaukee Bucks. Like, there's teams, there's cities, there's teams in all sports that you're like, okay, they're never going to win a championship. You know what I mean? Like,
you traded Kareem, you don't deserve a championship ever.
Yeah. Sacramento Kings, like the Cleveland Indians, like there's always there's always like a few teams here and there that you look at them, you're like, they're just never gonna win. The Florida Panthers, they're just never gonna win a Stanley Cup. Like, it's just, we know it. Milwaukee and Phoenix were one of those teams. We're two of those teams. And the fact that we were able to see them both, and we're able to see crazy storylines across the playoffs. Chris Paul's reemergence, Devin Booker, the coming out party of Devin Booker, Giannis proving everybody wrong on why he should be considered in the top of the league. You know what I mean? Like not coming out party, but Drew Holiday really, increasing his value. DeAndre
Holiday, you talked about how Giannis, it was the Giannis show, and it absolutely was. But Drew Holiday's defense,
unbelievable,
changed the series. Like I remember last week I criticized them saying you were brought here to shut them down, and when it was 2-0, those two guards, Booker and Chris Paul, were dominating. And there's some technical things they did to adjust. Like, and I always say Coach Budenholzer never makes any adjustments. He did. He did, yeah. I criticized Drew Holiday, and he made it. He adapted well within those adjustments, and like you would see a marked difference when he was on Booker versus PJ Tucker. When PJ Tucker was there, who's a good defender, it wasn't the same.
Yeah,
Drew Holiday just didn't let anything happen.
PJ Tucker, another guy that had a significant role, and Coach Bud. I mean, we can rip on Coach Bud all we want, and we have been, and a lot of people have. But realistically, he had a great game plan for the Suns. He did in the end. He didn't to start. He did in the end. At the end of the day, he got the W's that he needed to get, right?
So I thought Coach Budenholzer was the worst of the two coaches by a lot heading into the series.
Oh yeah.
But yet, the Suns had this terrible game plan last night where it was like, okay, how we're gonna try and defend Giannis is what's called drop coverage, which is like you basically stand as as deep as you can in the key. All it did was let him just take guys to the basket because he was unchallenged from 4 or 5 feet away, and they eventually had to double. But Giannis is also a very good passer, so it just didn't work. It was a dumb decision, and it didn't pay off. I think they were just banking on, well, he's hurt, right? The injury's going to start showing at some point, and it didn't.
Every time he got the ball at the top of the key, he would just legit just power through and just walk through everybody. And he, even if he's not dunking, he's spinning, he's hooping, he's hook shotting it. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
That spin move is nasty.
You know what? Sorry, go ahead, Terry. Finish.
No, go. You go.
I was going to say, you know why he was so strong? It's all that chicken.
Oh yeah, we have a good clip actually. I didn't know where you're going with that. Here's Giannis at the Chick-fil-A line after the game. Or today, I guess.
Are you gonna say your order?
Can I have a 50-piece? Sorry, I will put you. Can I put your camera? Do you mind or no?
Sure.
There's 150,000 people watching you right now.
Really?
Yes. So can I have please a 50-piece Mac Minis? 50 exactly.
Okay.
Not 51. Not 49. Chicken minis, yes, 50. And let me have a large drink, no ice, half Sprite, half lemonade.
He sounds exactly like my cousins in Greece. Like when they speaking.
Also,
exactly.
Can I say, what a gentleman? Can I put you on camera?
Yeah, so that's something. Yeah. Who is it? Oh, it's something Shannon Sharp hasn't even learned, and he's in the media. Is you ask people before you put them on TV or on
and also just the whole thing of like when you're on your speaker in your car and everything, it's like, hey, you're on my speaker, I'm driving, I have this person, whatever. Hey, can I put you on camera? There's 150,000 people looking at you now.
I think you should have told her that he's gonna get ripped on for not saying how many people were watching.
Yeah, the thing is like, so if you're the first of all, the Chick-fil-A takeout line is the best. They have people that come to your car. They have
it's like that. It's like that at In-N-Out also.
Yeah, In-N-Out has that too. And so she's there, right? And like maybe she's not a huge basketball fan. Maybe she recognizes, oh, this is like a famous guy, but she can't place him. And then like she's like, 150,000 people are watching your chicken order. What do you mean? Like, what is this?
And what country is this guy from? His voice is so sexy.
It is sexy. Yeah. I give him that. For some reason though, Terry, your Greek accent just isn't as appealing. But when I hear his, it's dreamy. It's dreamy.
My Greek accent sounds like it's from the mean streets of Shamedy, bro.
Fair. So do they keep Coach Budenholzer? Because he was fired 8 times during these playoffs, right? Like, There's about 8 times where it's like, okay, the Bucks are done. This is where they get a real coach. This is where they get a real coach. And you can't, right? Like, he just won a championship, even though very clearly Giannis won you a championship. And again, I give credit where credit's due. It was, an impressive adjustment by a coach who doesn't do that well. So he put on his big boy pants for the series, 100%. That said, maybe don't wear tracksuits to the championship press conference. It was the weirdest thing. Like, I know that's what he was wearing, but just change. He was a chance of winning a championship that night.
Loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? He didn't make that adjustment.
No, that's one adjustment he didn't make. To your point, Terry. So Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Chris Paul was okay last night. Devin Booker was awful. Like, last 2 games, just he didn't play well. I don't know how much of it. He got that face injury early in the series. I don't know if that was bothering him. Not making excuses, just trying to look for reasons why, other than, again, Drew Holiday. But I didn't expect Booker to be that bad after the game he had in Game 4.
No.
Chris Paul, though, he has a chance to opt out, and I think he will at the end of the season. And he's going to want a maximum contract for his last contract in the NBA, right? If you're the Suns, what do you do?
You offer max.
I told you what I think they should do. I told you that I think Ben Simmons is a great fit for that team.
He is a good fit for that team
because he doesn't imagine
Ben Simmons. Imagine Ben Simmons. I mean, listen, we're saying if you replace one for the other, obviously you're gonna miss out on other things. Like, Chris Paul has the jump shot. Chris Paul is a good point guard. Like, he commands the game. He's able to call plays. Like, he does different things that Ben Simmons does not do.
Well, right? Ben Simmons is a very good distributor as well. It's just the shooting.
Yeah. It's just the shooting. Yeah. He doesn't have like a leadership mentality, Ben Simmons, where Chris Paul is a.
But again, on this team, he doesn't have to be, right? Like,
because Chris Paul is there. What leader are they going to have? Like, Devin
Booker, I think, is going to step up, right? It is Booker's team.
He should. He has to, but
him and
it's not going to translate to a championship step. He's not going to step up to a guy who's going to lead a team to a championship next year.
For sure. I just think
Chris Paul is going to go somewhere in the West. If you go somewhere in the West, I mean, like, I don't know. I just don't see it. Like, I hate thinking about these things the day after the season ends because I know the offseason is going to be shit. And I know that Chris Paul is going to join a team that's probably needs a good point guard, probably the Lakers. And you know what? Maybe they're going to win, and Chris Paul is going to go home, and he's going to win a championship. He's going to be happy with his career, and he's going to call it quits. And he's going to be like, I made $190 million my career, and I'm good. My family's good. My grandkids are good. Everybody's good. But there's also, to Giannis's point, where he's like, I can go on any team and play my part. He's like, but I wanted to stick here because they trusted me. But there's also that.
But the thing is, Chris Paul he's been traded a bunch of times. He's a guy who, like, you and I agree on this. Like, he's one of the best point guards of all time. Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But a lot of people who are if you didn't win a championship, again, the whole argument that a championship is a singular award versus a team award. But like, he's going to always hold that unless he brings home a championship, right?
I mean, look at Reggie Miller, never won a championship, best shooter of all time. I think it's hands down.
Again, I also don't even think, is Reggie Miller even in the Hall of Fame? I'm looking this up. Eagle, you had a point?
I think he is.
I wanted to ask, though, do you think this was Chris Paul's last legitimate shot at a championship?
No, because he'll play for a contender next year.
Yeah, so I don't think that the Suns are notoriously cheap. I also think it doesn't make sense for their long range planning because, like, they need to extend Mikal Bridges. They need to extend someone else. I don't remember. There's 2 players that need the extension beyond the rookie year, so that makes it more difficult to keep Chris Paul. Chris Paul's not going to take a discount because he's the head of the Players Association, right? So, like, it looks really bad if he doesn't take a pay increase, right? So, he's going to want a pay increase. I don't think the Suns will do it. I don't think it makes sense for the Suns to do it because their window is pretty long with Booker and Ayton, and those are the guys you need to build around. So, I think it's either, if they're on good terms, it'll be a sign and trade. But I think Chris Paul might want to choose his destination, so he might not agree to the sign and trade. And I think if he has the choice, he's going to go play for the Lakers because he's buddies with LeBron. And why wouldn't you want to play on that team and be a contender right away?
I mean, listen, you know how I feel about LeBron. But am I like, it's just me, or do I feel like the whole thing I want to play with LeBron is kind of done with?
I, yes, but like Chris Paul's from the previous generation of the play with LeBron. You know what I mean? Like they.
Yeah.
To me, it's very clear that they need another guard.
Yeah.
And they need a guy who can make some outside shots. And
Yeah, because Schroeder's
Chris
not the
Paul's not
guy.
an elite shooter, but he's a good shooter.
Who?
Chris Paul's not an elite shooter,
Oh,
but he's
yeah,
a good
okay.
shooter.
He is a good shooter, yeah.
Reggie
Yeah,
Miller, by the way, 2012 Hall of Fame. My bad.
He is, yeah. I knew he was. I should have known that. Best player. Best player of all time.
But like the fact that we had to think about it, you know.
No, I just didn't think he got in yet, but I knew he was definitely in.
I think he'd get in at some point. I didn't think he was in already, to be honest. I just didn't remember.
2012 was 9 years ago. I remember. I remember the speech. I was like second guessing myself because my memory lately has been pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, Chris Paul, man. I hope he wins one, man. At the end of the day, it doesn't tarnish his legacy in any way if he doesn't get one.
I agree.
Like Charles Barkley is known as one of the best players to never win. Fuck it, he's one of the best players. Period. That's it. That's all.
Like
that's all we have to look at.
Do you think Dan Marino was not an excellent NFL quarterback? Like,
yeah, I say that if Dan Marino wins one Super Bowl, we're saying he's the best player of all time, like quarterback of all time.
Like, he's in like that Peyton Manning range, right? Like where it's like there's like Joe Montana and Tom Brady, and then there's like this group of players who are just the next level of elite, right?
Yeah.
And you know, he absolutely falls. He absolutely would have fallen into that category where I don't know if a lot of people feel that way.
If we talk about Dan Marino, if we talk about Aaron Rodgers as like one of the best of all time, we have to talk about Dan Marino. They're the same person basically. They're accurate. They got a crazy arm. The only difference is that Aaron Rodgers has one championship. That's the only difference.
Well, and Aaron Rodgers, by the way, he turned down a 5-year, $42 million a year deal with the Packers.
Good for him.
They tried to quote unquote make it right, but again, I don't think money is what motivates him at this point, right? To my wife's discontent, she learned after marrying me that I'm very much not motivated by money, and like there are people like that, right? Like for him being respected, for him being involved in sort of like the team's decision making, and a lot of teams do give that power. The Packers are famous for being this sort of really old school organization.
So I read a very interesting take about this news. So Adam Schefter leaked it, or got the source, or revealed it, etc. There's talk that it's actually the Green Bay Packers that leaked it to him.
It's 100%
because there's a board of directors meeting coming up next week, and so this is going to allow them to go with the narrative of we tried to sign him, he said no. What do you want us to do? Type of thing. Yeah. But someone pointed out that it's very interesting about how that point about it's not about the money was never actually in anything that was potentially leaked to him. Schefter added that in himself, potentially, trying to play both sides of the aisle there so that he doesn't piss off Rodgers, doesn't potentially break any or burn any bridges with him as well. So it's very interesting to see the timing and the messaging of this leak.
Whenever something's leaked, like who do you think leaks it? It's not like it has to be the player and the representation or the team and the representation. Like, it's not like a journalist just happened to walk in while they're having that meeting with Rodgers, right? Like, or like, oh shit, I forgot to turn off speakerphone and I had Adam Schefter on the line. Like, no,
fuck.
Oh no, what do we do? No,
Shams isn't fucking hanging out in your closet, and then he's like, as soon as he gets the information, Sham bomb, and he disappears.
He's the best, by the way. I love Shams.
By the way, you're on speaker with Adam Schefter.
Yeah, just letting you know.
So that's the thing. Like, it to me.
Or if you're Shannon Sharp, don't say anything.
Yeah, if Shannon Sharp calls you, just miss the call. The thing with Aaron Rodgers, he absolutely leaked the information on draft day.
Definitely, yeah. And
then, this was leaked by the team. Like this is a bad situation for both parties, right? Like, here's the thing is I don't see how at this point they could move him for any decent value. And I don't see how he can play for this team with all this bad blood. So what happens? Like, the season's not far. Like, I'm writing fantasy articles, right? So like the season's close.
They're gonna have to give him up for whatever they can get because they're gonna get
run a team that way.
Do you legitimately think that's going to happen? Because here's what I think is going to happen. They're going to lose the first 4 games with whatever shitty quarterback is going to be filling in the process. The fans are going to scream for the GM's head, and the owners are going to do something.
Well, but the problem is that it's harder for the Packers to do that because of their bizarre ownership structure, right? Because they're not they're not a private entity; they're publicly owned. So there's a lot less pressure than there is in a lot of other organizations. The other thing is, it's hard to get value at this point because every team's already made decisions. Like, it's not that you won't change your plans if you have the chance to get Aaron Rodgers. Every team is that quarterback away from winning a championship, right? Even the Jets is my point. But the thing is that every team basically have already put their plan together. So like, unless we're going to be able to buy him on pennies on the dollar, why are you going to give up major assets to a team that has no leverage? One thing I got curious. I looked up the contract because I'm a weirdo.
Yes, because you love numbers for some reason.
Yeah. And so essentially it costs them a lot of money to get rid of Aaron Rodgers this season, but they basically save like $17 million on the cap. If
he accepts that offer.
Or if they get rid of him next season.
Oh, next
season.
If
this happens next season. And so I think that's the motivation. But my thing is like, man, for $17 million, like you have Jordan Love, who's on a rookie deal anyway. Who cares? Just eat the $17 million and get. This should have just been handled like in January. Go out, trade him, get as much back as possible.
But I think that they felt that they can fix, they can mend the relationship, and Aaron Rodgers.
Like Terry, as a fan of football, did you ever feel that?
No, I thought as soon as it came out at the draft that he wanted to be out, I thought it was done. Like, there's no way. Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like the type of guy that does what other people want and sacrifices what he wants for other people. And nor should he. It's his fucking life. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with his life. He wants to refuse $42 million a year for 5 years, then hey, do that. That's you. Do that.
Hey,
and there's nothing
he can turn down Olivia Munn. He can turn down $42 million.
Yeah, exactly. That girl's a rocket, man.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I couldn't even turn her down.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what we're looking at with Aaron Rodgers is, where's he gonna go? Are the Packers gonna get what they want out of him? He seems like he's ready to just wait it out. And I'm good, man. I'm good financially. I'm playing golf every day. I got custom clubs from TaylorMade, and I'm good to go. So you guys call me when you're ready. I'll be in shape. I'll make sure that I'm in shape. And call me when you're ready, as long as I have the pieces around me that I know I can succeed with. I want to say all that shit. Or get me out of here. Send me to San Francisco, wherever he wants to go, and get whatever you can from me. And there's nothing wrong with that for Aaron Rodgers. And people hating on him, he should be playing, all this shit. No, if he doesn't want to play, he doesn't have to play. And that's the reality of the beast.
Yeah. Well, because again, like, people think of it like, oh, well, you signed a contract. Well, but like, if you're at a job and you're not happy and you go to another job, it's the same thing. That's this guy's job, is football. There was something on the NBA side I want to get to real quick, just because we talked a lot about Stephen A. Smith last week and sort of his comments. Emmanuel Acho made some comments about Giannis that are in the same vein. So I want to play this clip for you, Terry, and I want to get your thoughts. Was that not enough time for you, Eagle?
No.
Can Giannis not be the face of the NBA? Because the face of the NBA must be relatable. LeBron James. We know LeBron James' mama, know his mama's name. We know his wife, know the kids' names. We know Bronny, we know Bryce, we know Zuri. We know the characters' names from the Space Jam. We know all them cats. Kobe, the late, great Kobe Bryant. Respect. We knew Kobe Bryant. We knew his upbringing. We knew why he knew so many different languages. We played at Lower Merion High School. We knew his high school jersey number. We knew he repped the 3-3, knew he was from PA. We knew all that. Magic Johnson, we knew about Magic Johnson, know about Michigan State Magic Johnson, know about the college upbringing, know about the legacy there. Larry Bird, the face in the 80s as well. Know about the great Larry Bird. We know how Larry Bird went to college, left college, went back to college. We know about that, know about the upbringing. We've seen the documentaries. Michael Jordan.
Stop playing.
We know about Mike.
We know
everything there is to know about Mike. We know about the tragic circumstances. We know about all that. We also know about the tragedies that he had to face, that he had to overcome. The tragedy with his father. We know all of that. But Giannis... We know Giannis's mama name. I do.
What's her name?
Veronica.
Veronica?
Yes. No, that's her American name.
See, that's the problem.
Oh, God, now,
you can't relate to something if you keep lying.
I try to help you, stop.
I hate when people say, like, where you from? You say, it's somewhere small.
No.
I was like, food, just tell me something.
Here is part of the problem,
Veronica.
Which is why Giannis can't be the face. What? Because Giannis goes through what I go to. People always ask me. I got asked this at a wedding, I think, 2 weeks ago. Hey, Acho, where you from? I said, Dallas, Texas. He was Nigerian. He said, no, where are you from? I said, Isu Koto, Abia State. He was like, I was like, oh, see, I didn't know what you meant. There's so many hoops and obstacles that we have to jump through in order to make Giannis the face. Okay. And I just think, if we're being honest, we're too lazy to jump through them.
Yeah, you're lazy to jump through it, Emmanuel Acho, who I respect.
I don't even understand. You're Nigerian. Like,
what's the point that he's trying to make?
I don't know.
Kamaru Usman, he's a welterweight champion in the UFC from Nigeria. Israel Adesanya, he's the middleweight champ by way of New Zealand from Nigeria. Giannis Antetokounmpo, born in Greece, parents from Nigeria.
Carey Price is playing for the Canadians, not from Quebec.
Not from Quebec. Weird, right? How does that work?
Does Carey Price even speak French?
Highly doubt.
I've never heard him speak. I just realized I've never heard him speak French.
I mean, I'm sure he'll address them with like a bonjour, hi.
Yeah, but I don't think like he's ever had like.
Oh God, no.
No.
But like, just like, how are we still? It's 2 straight weeks where we literally have this on the docket. I'm like, how is this still the issue? And the worst part is Giannis's English is excellent, and he's super accessible. He's like, what else do you want? You literally want him to be born in a different place.
Talk about imagine. Okay, imagine Skip Bayless said this about LeBron James. He said it about.
I mean, Clay Travis says this about anybody who doesn't look like him. So
exactly, Skip Bayless. Imagine he said this about Kevin Durant. He can't be the face because we don't know where he comes from. Imagine that.
Well, it's like saying that Barack Obama shouldn't be president because we don't know if he's American.
I was just gonna say that. Like, how many people will like birth certificate Africa?
No, it's nonsense. It's stupid. Like, to me, and like we literally started the show praising his game. B, just talk about how accessible he is. This is the same guy in his first season sent all of his money back to Greece and was running to the stadium. A fan saw him and like, aren't you in the Bucks? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to the game. Do you want to ride? He's like, okay, yeah. He's like, I couldn't take a cab because I sent all my money to Greece. Like, he literally gave away all of his money to his family because they weren't wealthy, and he was thankful for what he did.
He's the ultimate American story.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, I'm so.
He's also the ultimate Greek story, fucking being bankrupt and no money to spend.
He's the story of 2 nations. 2 nations. Yeah. Be terrible with money.
3 nations. Also 3 nations. His parents had to leave Nigeria because of political whatever the issue was over there at that time. But no, I mean, listen. What an American story he is. He's an immigrant. He comes here. He makes a living for himself. He supports his family. 2 of his brothers are in the NBA. One of them won a championship last year. The other one won a championship with him this year. He's married. He's got kids. He's living in Milwaukee. He's living in fucking Milwaukee. Yeah. The guy comes from an area where they don't even know what snow looks like. You know what I mean? And he's loving Milwaukee.
The thing is, he comes from 2 areas where they don't know what snow is. But the thing is that with regards to Giannis, is that like, again, it's all things you want, and like isn't that what America is supposed to be? Isn't it supposed to be the melting pot? Isn't it supposed to be a country literally built on immigration? And in the last, I don't know, decade or so, it's become one of the most anti-immigration places in the world. And like, your country literally would not exist as we know it if not for this. Like, it's and our country as well, by the way. It's not limited to the United States. It's just, we're talking about the United States right now. We see this a lot here, especially like the English and French dynamic, and like immigrants who don't come from French-speaking countries versus immigrants that come from French-speaking countries. And we obviously have all these issues here as well. We're not innocent. Racism is not just an American problem, but man, I don't understand countries like ours, countries like the US, how this can be an issue in 2021. And all the guy's done is be excellent at such a young age. It's shocking to me. It's shocking to me. There was a moment of panic for Montreal Canadiens fans, and we'll talk about that later. But the Seattle Kraken, awesome team name. Enjoying it so far.
You know what their fans are going to be called?
What, crackers?
Crackheads.
Okay, I was going crackers because hockey fans are all white.
That's a good one too.
But the Crackheads is pretty good. If they were in BC, it would make even more sense. But the thing
pretty
is,
west.
is that
pretty close actually.
The list of players has been leaked already, and Eagle was telling me, do you know how much ESPN and Disney spent on the rights to show the
A
contract?
lot. Like that contract was huge.
Like
essentially.
it's multi-millions, right?
Yeah.
And
And let's see if I can just Google it quickly here. $225 million annually.
And now Elliot Friedman, Pierre LeBrun, Darren Drager, all these dummies ruined it for everybody, even on Twitter. I was
Frank
on Twitter all day
Saravelli
today.
being the main one, by the way. He got his
Yeah,
hands on
Frank-
the list, and he was like, "I'm gonna end this whole man's career."
Okay, but so here's the thing is like, if Hot Sauce Sports got that information, we would run with it.
Holy fuck!
5
of course.
seconds.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, I but like we always say, like,
Yeah, but they're credible. We're not.
But the leak comes from somewhere, right? We would have been after this would have been a start turn for us, Terry. But
Yeah, you think people would have believed us? We would have been
No.
like, yeah, they're taking Kale Fleury from Montreal. They'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
the
Hot Sauce
worst
Sports.
is
They don't know what the hell
the
they're
worst
talking
is there's so many things we've talked about that have worked out the way we said it would. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? It's not like we're pulling this shit out of our asses, right? But definitely,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie. I don't hate this list. I like their D's. I don't love the list either. I mean, they have good goalie. They have Chris Dreger, who played really well for Florida last year.
Yeah.
They're on D. Mark Giordano, you assume he's gonna wear the C. That's pretty sick. Morgan Geekie, he's a forward, great
Adam
player.
Morrison
I mean,
also.
I think yeah, he has a lot of potential.
You
Adam
can have
Morrison.
a Flurry D line with Hayden and Kale. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty. Hayden's a young dude. You know, I think they
Fleury,
have a
pass
pretty
the puck
good
to Fleury.
team. They have a pretty good team going forward. I didn't even realize that they got Jordan Eberle. That's huge as well. Honestly, this Brandon Tanev, huge fan of Brandon Tanev, him and his brother. Yeah, this is a good team. And Yanni Gord, coming off 2 Stanley Cup wins, he's fucking pissed. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
remember,
I
this
think-
is only an expansion draft, right? There's still
Yeah.
UFAs and everything they can sign. Obviously, they have the draft coming up as well, so they
Mm-hmm.
can move more pieces around. And what I think has not been announced is the trades that were made leading up to this expansion draft. That's one thing that hasn't been leaked yet. Like, I think Vegas had 10 different trades going into their expansion draft, so maybe there's even more players moving around on this team.
The one thing I will
Yeah.
say, like in defense of this being leaked, is I'm never gonna watch people's names, like other than the NFL draft. That's the only time I watch people's names being read. Like
It's so funny because I was gonna message the guys in our chat and be like, "Hey guys, you guys want to do a live stream for the expansion?" And then as I'm on Twitter at the same time, I'm looking, I'm like, everything's pretty much out now. There's no point.
Yeah.
There's even like leaks of like that Carey Price is gonna retire and stuff. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think he's not leaving that much money on the table to retire.
No.
Ariel Helwani made some news. He was on Dan Le Batard show. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. The interview was sent to me. I listened to it, and he had lots of inflammatory comments to be made about Dana White, about ESPN, about Disney. Look, we know the relationship between Dana White and Ariel Helwani has been contentious, right?
Yes.
I don't disagree with a lot of what he says. So I'll say something on this, and I you know this topic a lot better than I do. So as an outsider, as someone who's not, I enjoy the sport. I wouldn't say I'm a fight fan. I loved boxing growing up, and this has kind of replaced that as sort of like an additional sport that I watch in the way boxing was for me growing up. You know, I love and respect what Dana White did for the sport and for the community. I find the community also really weird in that they hate when mainstream people get involved, but that's how your sport grows. But that's another
It's
point.
like they call people casuals. Like, oh, you're a casual. What do you know?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
I'm a casual. You're welcome for helping your sport become more popular.
you were one 3 years ago. Relax.
Yeah. And then so the other thing is with when I liken him to
Oh, by the way, Alex the intern, ultimate casual.
yeah,
like,
also that's okay.
Woo! Casual on steroids.
Like it's okay. I don't understand how mad he gets about some stuff if
Oh,
you're that
it's so
casual.
angry.
The way I feel about Dana White is similar to how I feel about Joe Rogan. I think that the things they've accomplished are amazing. For example, I don't think Joe Rogan is a particularly gifted interviewer. I think
He's all right. He's a good conversationalist.
yeah, I think he makes the interviews too much about himself and what he thinks about those topics rather than let you know what I mean? Like a great interview gets the story out of the person they're interviewing, right?
Yeah. You know,
Now,
you
again,
you
he
won't get a lot
created
of arguments from me.
He created a whole industry, and I
Yeah.
can't knock it. A lot of what we do is not possible, literally not possible, without Joe Rogan. And Dana,
Absolutely.
like UFC is not possible without Dana White, right? And
Yeah.
he literally fought legislations from state to state where it was illegal to have UFC. And for it to now be on Disney and to just to create that partnership. But at this point, I find he's kind of tenuous. He's always saying the same things. It's just trying to be the loudest guy in the microphone. I don't find him to be particularly interesting. I like Ariel Helwani for the opposite reasons. I find him to be very engaging. I find him to be a very interesting person. I find every time I listen to him talk about UFC, I learn something about UFC. Right? So like as someone who's not
sure.
as an outsider, right? Like I'm as a casual, I learned more and more about the sport every time I listen to him. Also, he's a Montrealer, so he hates David Sampson. So he's got like 2 points in my like personal record book of like what makes him awesome. Those two things really speak to me.
So Dana White, to your point that he, sometimes he says the same thing over and over again. For the fact that he's been doing this since 1993, and he has been saying the same things over and over again, and he hasn't said anything really crazy and outlandish. Like at one point, he said that there would never be a women's division in the UFC. Then here comes Ronda Rousey. Like the guy's been very innovative. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As closed-minded as people think he is, and as conservative, he's very innovative. He kept sports alive. He kept sports alive during this pandemic. I mean, he made it so we're able to still watch main events every month, twice a month, whatever the case may be. So he is innovative and creative in that way.
I don't take anything away from the accomplishment side of it at all. I think what he's done is absolutely impressive, and I will absolutely give him his flowers.
Yeah, he also doesn't like when if the thing about Ariel Helwani, and I love the guy. I listen to him. He's very entertaining. He's very well versed. He knows what he's talking about. He's a good interview. He's a very good interviewer. Interviewer. The only thing is that a lot of people don't like working with Ariel Helwani, and it's like his colleagues. So like journalists around him, like they just can't stand the guy. Like it's pretty well known. Like Luke Thomas doesn't like him. Like Brendan Schaub doesn't really know him, but like he's kind of heard the same thing. And a lot of people just don't. He kind of rubs people the wrong way, and it gets to that point where Dana White's like, this guy, we've given him everything. And Dana White helped Ariel Helwani at the beginning a lot. Ariel Helwani, he has a great story, great success story. And Dana White helped him a lot at the beginning. And then Ariel Helwani goes and kind of bites the hand that feeds him to a certain extent with the release of the Brock Lesnar news that kind of made the UFC lose a bunch of money and all this stuff. And I'm on the side of Dana White where why he should be upset at Ariel Helwani. But Dana White does this thing where he can be a bully sometimes. You know what I mean? And he kind of uses his power to kind of squash you. Like to the point where now he's not, like Ariel Helwani said it in that interview down Levitar, that he would be there before just working, and then security would come and have to escort him out because Dana White doesn't want to see him. It's not even just talk to him; he doesn't want to see him, and that's the part. It's like if he threatens you that much, like Dana White can squash Ariel Helwani all he wants.
But is this a story of like betrayal and revenge from Dana White of like, oh, I was supporting you and then, you leaked something that hurt me and now I want to get you back type of thing? Like ultimately he was still doing his job.
That was my point, is that at this point he wasn't part of UFC. He was a reporter reporting. So when he has news, do you want him to not break
the thing is that it, just like in any sport, if it's something like breaking news like this, you want to talk to the source and be like, hey, I have this information. That's journalistic integrity. Like, not that.
Do we know that he didn't do
exactly
that? Though?
I would be surprised if he didn't do that.
According to Dana White, Ariel never contacted him when it came to that Brock Lesnar story. It was the day before. It was actually during an event in the middle of a night where they were about to release a commercial, like a trailer about Brock Lesnar coming back, and it cost $2 million, and there was a bunch of people that were about it that were in on it that didn't know anything about it. Then Ariel Helwani, boom, releases this tweet in the middle of the event because he knew that Dana White couldn't do anything about it in the moment. You know what I mean?
It's possible that this is early in Ariel's like journalism career. Just based on the timing of it, that's basically when he started, right?
Yeah. No, it wasn't. This was like he was already working for Fox at the time. He was already pretty much.
I'm saying it was maybe a year in, right? Like Brock Lesnar's a few years ago at this point.
Oh no, this was Brock Lesnar's return. So this is
his return. Okay, sorry. I thought it was when he first got. Okay, so look, I don't know the details. I know generally in journalism circles, Ariel's pretty well respected. I don't know him personally. I don't know Dana White personally. So, like, we have to take both these people at their word. I just think that to me, it seems as though Dana White's not interested in having actual reporters. He wants people who.
No, that's not true at all. Because Dana White, first of all, people get credentials for the UFC, people that he doesn't even know. And
Yeah, but how many of them are critical of him?
Exactly. So that's the thing. There's a lot of them that are critical of him in terms of not necessarily the person. Ariel Helwani, even before he was banned and all that stuff, he was critical of Dana White for certain things, and they butted heads. But he was still welcome. Like, he was still there. The only reason why he lost his credentials is because he leaked information that he shouldn't have leaked. That's the part.
I mean, like, Adnan Virk was fired from ESPN for that reason, right?
Exactly.
Like, look, if that's the case, that's fairly standard.
The thing about Ariel is that, and it's sad a bit, but you know, it's obvious that it's for the most part, it's all about him, and it's not necessarily about the story. He wants to be the one to release the story, and that's what all journalists thrive to do. They want to be the first ones out there.
Yes. And
so
no. I mean, theoretically, no. The journalist is supposed to try and get the information out, right? Like, it's become, because of social media, it's become who gets the story first. But to me, getting the story right is more important than getting the story out first. But I'm also 100 years old. So,
but the thing is, Ariel had the golden egg. He had the story right, and he had it. He's like, what do I do with this? Like, this basically can get me a lot of clicks, a lot of likes, a lot of this, a lot of that. And it did. And I want to be the first one to release it. But what did it do? It tarnished the relationship that he needed to a certain extent. But it didn't block Ariel Helwani for a long time. Like, he worked in ESPN after for 3 years. Like, you know, he still thrived because he's such a good journalist.
In the interview, though, he says that ESPN, at the behest of Dana White, because of their close partnership, they specifically did not promote Ariel Helwani's show the same way they're promoting whoever's doing it on ESPN. I don't remember the name now, but
before, I don't even know if they had MMA before. He's the first guy at ESPN.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, whoever they have now is being heavily promoted, and the whole time
it's Ryan Clark.
Yeah, I'll take
you know who Ryan Clark is. You know Ryan Clark,
football player.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's who they have replacing Ariel Helwani.
That's weird. I guess. I mean, that's like having me do it at that point. But
for real.
But the thing is that he felt as though. So imagine that, though. Imagine feeling like you're at a workplace, and your bosses don't promote what you're doing because of their partnership, and then they replace you with someone who's far less credentialed than you, and they promote the shit out of it because you're not going to be contentious. Like that.
Oh no, for sure. Listen, Dana White has
like an ESPN Disney sort of thing.
Dana White has a big say in what they do, and they have a big say in what he does, and it's a good partnership.
Me, though. That the NFL, that MMA essentially run ESPN, who were for a long time a journalistic entity and haven't been for 3 years.
Yeah, they're not.
Since John Skipper left, they have not been a journalistic entity.
And John, we'll talk about John Skipper for fucking. There's another doofus, but a journalism, like a journalist, you know, like that type of guy. And anyway, at the end of the day, Ariel has made more money since then and become more famous since then than anybody else in MMA. It's worked out for everybody. Jesus Christ, you hear that?
Yeah, it's really loud.
What the fuck? Was that thunder?
It might be. We've had some weird weather the last 2 days.
That was thunder.
I walked out of my house and it was both sunny and the darkest clouds
on the walk to the studio today. It was bright sunshine with showers, and I was like, "Do I like just walk and I dry while I'm walking in the rain?" Or
send it to Mokan. So ask him his fucking opinion.
Yeah, what is this, Mo?
Explain now.
All right, boys, rapid fire. Here we go. We got 5 today, one of which... six actually. 6.
I added one.
I have to scroll my screen. First one here. Monopoly Man. When trying to freeze Giannis off of the line, everyone loves to count with his super long free throw timing. So someone decided to do this.
Coaching staff doing a good job alerting the officials to not mistake.
I couldn't get enough of this guy. The dude's counting $100 bills.
Is right there with $100 bills counting. All right.
People in Phoenix are weird, man.
Yeah.
It's the strangest crowd.
It's the Wild Wild West, man. They just do shit over there, you know. Like, they don't have daylight savings time. They're like, fuck it. It's open carry. You know, they can do whatever the fuck they want in Phoenix. You know?
It was such a combination of like over the top bros and retired people. There's nothing in between. It's like the kids of the retired people. Sorry?
And golf trips.
Yeah. And everyone has a really pink tan. It's the pinkest city in America, I believe.
Yeah,
It has to
definitely.
be.
Next, progress in Music City. The Nashville Predators prospect Luke Prokop is the first active NHL player who has come out as gay. I hate to do this, but this is news.
It's news because it's the first one, right? Like it's the first openly gay professional hockey player. To be honest, and Terry, you know the community a little bit better than I do. I always thought it would come from hockey first, just because of like how like hockey players are known to support each other in the locker room, and how they're a sport where they have that sort of mentality of like the brotherhood mentality, right? And
Boys,
so
yeah.
I always thought it was going to come from the NHL first, and it doesn't matter when it comes out. The important thing is it comes out, and that people like Luke Prokop can look up to him and be like, you know what, I'm gay, and it doesn't mean I can't be an NHL player. It doesn't mean my life has to be terrible. There's somebody else out there, and so it's cool to see.
It is. It's honestly, it's refreshing, and obviously we saw it. It's gonna be like a recurring thing now. Every season we're gonna see 1, 2, 3 guys, and then it's gonna be normalized. We saw Carl Nassib come out. Hugo misspelled his name. Carl Nassib come out and announce it as the first active NFL player that's coming out as gay, and this is the first active NHL player that's coming out as gay. And I'm sure there's plenty. Plenty out there that haven't had the courage to come out yet, and maybe this will allow them to. You know what I mean? So it's
John
good for
Amici,
them.
for
It doesn't
example,
change anything.
John Amici, the ex-NBA player, he's got like the Order of the Queen. He's a psychologist. He teaches at some university. Great post-basketball career. He was an okay player, but he talked about all the time like how he never even felt that the issue would be in the locker room. He always felt as though he would lose his job because the ownership he felt as he wasn't good enough to be gay, which is terrible. It's such a terrifying.
It's a weird thing to say, huh?
I'm not talented enough that I can be who I actually am.
Like if Wayne Gretzky was gay, it would be like, oh, that's okay.
Well, because you're not going to cut Wayne Gretzky, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it is a terrifying existence, and so it's cool. It's cool that people are more able to be themselves.
Next, disaster piece. You guys both play softball. I watched a clip this past week where the New York Mets looked like a Division 10 amateur softball team.
They often do throughout their history, to be fair. Terry and I watch a lot of Mets games.
They look like Pease's team, basically.
So
exactly.
This clip is at full speed. I think there's maybe about 6 people on the Mets that don't understand what's going on. So let's watch this.
Set up inside, got the pitch in, pulled the bat back down the third base. That is a fair ball. No. It looked like it was picked up in foul territory, saying it was a fair ball.
Oh, no.
Now they're continuing to run. The ball got away. 1 run, 2 runs have scored, and 3 runs in.
And out of all people,
and Walker was arguing. The ball had rolled all the way over to the fan facade by the dugout. Nobody went after it. Rojas is livid. He's been thrown out of the game. Got to be careful as a little bumping's going on. With the home plate umpire, and Larry Vanover comes in, the crew chief, to break it up. From the angle we were looking at, it looked like that ball was foul.
I thought it was foul.
He's a player. He's not even the coach.
Oh, it's Rojas. Look at
Rojas
this.
is the coach. He's the manager.
Jones has
sorry.
to move in to help
What a
out
chest
here
on
with
him
the
too,
home
though,
plate
eh? Like
umpire.
he can't
fucking
clap.
That's amazing.
I didn't even realize who it was. I just assumed player because he's
It'll be
jacked.
6-0.
I mean, Taiwan.
Well, he's not far removed.
Number one, you don't want to kick
He
the
played
ball
recently.
and
Yeah.
grab it when it's foul. But that ball, I thought, was foul.
They need to get refs that are in better shape, just in case. Just in
Well,
case
they look
someone
like they're not in
mentions
shape because just all that equipment.
it. Fair.
I mean, this
But
has
also,
got to
they're
be
also
reviewable,
900 years
and
old.
they're gonna-
They're also
So for
fucking
people who don't
extreme.
know
It's a clear
baseball
view,
rules,
too.
this
And
ball
he can
was
overrule
still
it.
considered
If it's
live
foul.
because the only chance for it to be fouled is if it passes
Base
first or
umpire's
third
Marvin
base
Hudson, one of
outside
the
of the
veterans
line.
on this
This
crew.
ball was still
The call
teetering
was
on
made
it,
to the
and
home
so
plate umpire.
because
Yeah.
they
Until the
touched
ball
it
gets
while he
to
was
third base and
inbounds,
beyond,
it's a
it's the
live
home
ball.
plate
But
umpire's
guys,
call,
so like
but
to Ross's defense,
Joust is
it
now
happens all the
taking
time where
over
the
for
ball's
Rojas, who's been
rolling
thrown out of
towards
game.
the line, and players sort of push it beyond the foul
There
line
you go.
I
to
gotta
help
see
it to
this.
get there. You know?
So this ball looks like it's gonna be live, right? Because it's gonna cross in. So he doesn't
But-
touch. He doesn't touch. He doesn't touch it. Okay,
Touching
good.
the chalk,
Now right
touching
here,
the-
see how
he
he's
made-
standing?
He made the right call.
Technically
call.
in
That ball
bounds.
was-
That ball's
Yeah.
a live ball.
But it
And
never
then
gets
the
treated
Mets,
that way. It
Instead
never
of
gets
going
treated
after
that way
the
in baseball.
baseball wanted to argue. Meanwhile,
Wait.
the Pirates, Joey
Okay,
Cora down at
so the
third
ball
base
was
is
out,
waving
and then as it
everybody around
has to
Yeah.
cross the
to
line
get as
coming
many
back in to
runs
be
in
considered a
as he-
foul.
So when he touches it right
touching the chalk, touching.
Yeah.
here, he's inbounds.
Yeah.
Therefore, this ball is alive.
Okay, but I don't understand. When would it be considered a foul?
If he literally didn't touch this ball and the ball stopped rolling right there, it would be a foul ball.
So, but again, so the thing is that players do this all the time, and it's always called foul. It's
So
it's sort of
what's
like the way the rules
what's the ump
implemented
waiting?
versus what the rule is, right?
what's the ump waiting for?
He's waiting to see if he touches it while he's in the field, which he is now.
But-
So
Okay,
as of
but the
right
ball,
now,
the
it's a
ball I'm
live
saying
ball.
is the ball needs to cross the line, right?
The ball.
What if it never stops
But, no,
rolling?
but the ball
on
started
the left
foul.
side of the.
The ball started foul,
can't
but it
come
isn't
back.
foul until because it's still in movement.
Okay.
And if it passes the first or third base on the outside, then it's immediately a foul ball. But because it's still in the infield, there's a chance that it still is going to be a good ball, right? Because start out, come back in with a
But I
roll.
don't think it can come back in. It
It
bounced
can't.
foul.
This ball is rolling infield.
Yeah, but it bounced foul already. Like if the ball hits behind the plate and spins forward, it's a foul ball.
Yeah, but there's some weird thing about the way this ball was hit or whatever.
Anyway,
it is, but
it just
He made
the
it-
rule
he
is
made the
never
right call,
actually
right call.
applied this
That
way.
ball was
Literally every
foul.
weekend I see balls scooped into
And
foul
then the
territory
Mets,
by the third baseman,
instead of going
and it's
after the
fine.
baseball, wanted
And in
to
this
argue.
case, it just you
Meanwhile,
can't
the Pirates,
officiate
Joey
it differently
Cora
in
down at
different
third
games. It has
base
to
is
be the
waving
same way you
everybody
implement
around
the rule all the
to
time,
get as
right?
many runs in
Yeah.
as he can.
That's why
because
there's
the
a
Ego,
ball
turn it off
is
because-
over by the dugout.
Jesus, Mike is doing that thing where it's cutting in and out again, like it did last
sorry.
week. It's not your fault.
But yeah, that's baseball for you.
That's the Mets. That's the Mets, Terry. Even on good seasons, this is what happens. Between that and Jacob deGrom being hurt every 15 minutes, I'm worried about the postseason.
But Pete Alonso won the home run derby.
Yeah, $2 million.
All right, next. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but let's get cracking. Montreal Canadiens took a calculated risk in putting Carey Price on the list of available people to take in the expansion draft. He was not taken, but everyone believed there was the potential, not saying it was going to happen, but there was a potential that Seattle could have taken him, and Bergevin put his balls on the table and said, "You're not going to take him," and called the bluff.
Why would Seattle take him?
To sell jerseys.
Franchise goaltender, West Coast
$10.5
guy.
million. You're not going to the Stanley Cup. You're rebuilding. You're building. Not even rebuilding. There's no point of going after a 34-year-old goalie making $10.5 million a year that just came out with knee problems. Smart leak, by the way. That was another leak by the Habs. Is that immediately the day after they put him on, they unprotect him. The day after that, they announced that he's going to be getting knee surgery. Geniuses.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, sorry.
Geniuses, not like the geniuses that robbed Brendan Gallagher's house.
Yeah.
But
We're pro robbery podcast.
Pro robbery podcast. So I mean, there's no reason why they would take him. They got a good goalie in Chris Driedger.
Yeah.
So
We've
I mean,
known
I knew
we've
they were-
known that
he was
Driedger was going to be a Kraken for like 3 months now, right? Like
Yeah.
It was the worst kept secret in all of hockey.
also, I was like 99% sure they weren't going to take Carey Price, but that was like a very unsure 99%.
Yeah. So I actually don't even think it's balls of steel. I think it was the safest thing in the world because A, to your point, Terry, they're not going to take him. Secondly, if they do, they clear up the Carey Price cap problem for you, which Bergevin secretly would have loved because he can't get rid of Carey Price, right? Because he's beloved. We saw what he did in the playoffs. But paying a 34-year-old goaltender for, 4 more years at $10 million is going to be an issue at some point for the Canadians. And it would have solved the problem for him as the general manager without ever having to be the bad guy.
Yeah, I've heard the plan is Jake Allen and Price are going to split the regular season almost 50-50 or almost even Allen doing more of the grunt work, and then Price just takes over in the
It's
playoffs.
load management. It's load management. I don't hate it. Like we saw it work already, right? We saw Carey Price literally be a different version of himself in playoffs.
Next, Manning's United. ESPN and Disney, now the same organization, will be partnering with Omaha Productions for an alternate Monday Night Football broadcast that will include celebrities, iconic players, current players, and just a general, essentially, live stream that goes along with the game. This is the graphic they put together for it. I've never seen this much forehead on a graphic before. But, I mean, I think this is really good idea. Like, this is going to make Monday Night Football fun to watch just for, like, The only thing you could make this better with is if you give them like tequila shots every few minutes just to see how wild it can get.
So you're saying you've never seen this much forehead, and then you mentioned tequila, and you don't want me to bring up Joe Buck?
It's true.
Like if they add Joe Buck, that's the most forehead you can get.
Peyton is like really funny, and Eli is under. He's like under the radar funny, so I think it'll be good. But to individually snooze fest together could be great content.
So for years and years, I've always said that like the broadcasters don't add anything. You guys know I watch most games on mute anyway because I'm normally watching 3 different things at once.
Also because you're deaf.
Yeah, well, I'm also deaf too. Why tease myself with sounds I can't hear? But the thing is that I find this interesting because look, the play-by-play guys don't give us any real content anyway. They just play back replays and give us, other than like Tony Romo, who will now once in a while sort of break down why a team will do this and why they did this. That's really rare. And so this is something else. It's guys just entertaining me while watching the game, which I love because the amount of times I'll listen to our podcasts while watching a game is pretty much constant. Like last night, I don't even know what they talked about on the broadcast because I was listening to Hot Sauce Sports in my headsets while watching.
There you go.
So I love this move. I think this is the future of broadcasting. I don't know why it took so long.
Yep. We're next.
And our last topic, cutting loose. Colin Morikawa won the Open Championship, but the bigger story was that apparently he needed to step out of the tee box because someone had hit a transmitter there and was making fart noises as he attempted to tee off. And that's the joke. It's fart noises.
Fart noises is the category of things that I don't care that it's juvenile. I'm going to laugh every time. Like the riots in Montreal, I'm anti-riot. 100% pro-robbery, anti-riot. Yep. If you're going to steal stuff, don't break anything. But every time I saw people throwing the Montreal construction cones, for which we are famous, I can't help myself. I have to laugh.
Absolutely.
And this is the same thing. If you're going to fart, if there's fart noises, I'm going to laugh every time. There we go. And imagine trying to tee off, and like if it's you or I, and like Duke makes a fart noise with his mouth, we'll be mad. But it's funny because it's a fart noise. You know what I mean? So like I have a feeling Colin Morikawa was like, you know what? I'm trying to win, but damn, I respect that man.
Did you hear that he had to bring his trophy on a flight with him? And he took like
he didn't fly private. I saw.
Yeah, he didn't fly private too. Yeah, he just took it with him on the plane. That was it, and he put it in the storage.
I'd be so terrified of it breaking. I'm terrified of like normal things breaking.
No, those things are like they're padded on the inside, like the case. But it's funny that he had to bring it with him. He couldn't just paid $150 it would have been to fly it to California, wherever he's from.
Then again, it's kind of a giant flex to walk through like Heathrow Airport with a giant trophy.
What kind of a flex is it that probably nobody recognized him?
It's a good. Well, no, but it's the British Open, right? Like it's a big deal in England.
I guess, but like people on an airplane, if they're just seeing like an Asian guy walking around, they don't think it's Colin Morikawa.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
But he's doing. See, every time. He's doing Tiger Woods stuff at this point, right? Like he's won.
It's his first major, right?
He won one like a month ago or 2 months ago.
He didn't win the U.S. Open. He didn't win the PGA. He won this. He didn't win the Masters.
He won a tournament recently.
He's won tournaments, but I think it's his first major.
But
yes, he is on the same path pretty much.
Well, they were comparing him to Tiger Woods because of what he's accomplished at the age he accomplished it, right? So
how many models has he banged?
To be released.
Did he win the U.S. Open?
Let's wait for a specific Thanksgiving to arrive, and we'll find out.
Who won the U.S. Open this year? Last year was DeChambeau. Who won it this year?
I'm looking that up as I'm getting a call from my wife during the show again.
That possible?
Yeah, Rahm. That's his name.
John Rahm won it?
John Rahm.
Hon Rahm.
Yeah, Morikawa was fourth. I thought he had 2 majors. Yeah, I could be wrong.
Maybe he had one last year and I'm not aware, but I don't know. Because last year the U.S. was with DeChambeau. They didn't do the Open. Masters was DJ. And did he win the PGA Championship?
Well, this was the Tour Championship.
Did he win the PGA Tour Championship last year in 2020? He might have won that, actually. Now that I think about it, I think he did win that.
The Open 2021, that's the one that just passed. I don't know. I thought I knew this heading in, and now you're right, because I'm going back through the past tournaments, and you're right. I don't think he won another major. All right, that's the show. That's a perfect note to end on because it's a fart note. Terry, thank you for everything you've done today. Thank you to our sponsors. Livestream, if you haven't downloaded, Hot Streak. If you haven't downloaded Hot Streak Fantasy, it's amazing. Terry and I enjoyed it throughout the NBA playoffs. I'm going to jump on it for baseball now because once the NBA is done, I watch way too much baseball and I irritate the hell out of my wife. Eagle, you've done a great job. So does Mike's Barbecue Rub, by the way. No one does a better job of rubbing my meat than Mike's Barbecue Rub. If you enter Hot Sauce 10, you get 10% off your order. Try the Truffalo sauce. It is delicious.
I gotta order some.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys, and thank you all for letting me be myself. Every time. You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports. You won 2 majors.
Yeah, PGA Championship. I just saw it here.
PGA and European, yeah. There we go.
Yeah,
PGA Tour and
that's
European.
awesome. Forgot about that. Who won it this year? Oh, Phil Mickelson won it this year.
Yeah, Phil, it's true. Yes, Phil had the.
Right.
Guys, give me 1 second. My wife is calling me and she's at the airport.